What's up, brothers and sisters? Your brother G World 7_D. Here I have Dr. Clyde Winters' book, and I want to say it came out last year. It's The Black Mound Builders of America by Dr. Clyde Winters. I think this came out last year. I'm not totally sure. It might have came out last year. Okay, I'm going to go to the page. I'm going to go to actually chapter. I'm going to go to chapter 4. Yeah. Mounds in the United States. In ancient America, it would appear that many mounds were built by Africans. These mounds were built between 200 BC and AD 1500. Many of the late mounds in the United States and South America were probably built by the colonists from Mali. We cannot point out the exact origins of all the African mound builders in Americas, but we are sure these blacks built many mounds from Brazil and Venezuela up into the northeastern parts of the United States. Leo Wiener in Africa and the Discovery of America, and Clyde Winters, the author, African Empires in Ancient America, discuss the African figurines found in many of these mounds in great detail. The earliest mound culture in the United States exists at Poverty Point. Poverty Point, situated on the confluence of the Arkansas and Mississippi rivers, was a major trade center for 300 years. This site dates back to sometime before 1100 BC. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Toltec Mississippians, Ceremonial Mound, Emerald Mound, Natchez Trace, Mississippi, USA, right here. All right. No Mexican artifacts have been found at Poverty Point. Excuse me. But some archaeologists believe that there may have been some relationship between the Olmec site in Mexico and Poverty Point. The mounds built in southern part of the United States are usually rectangular in shape and larger than those built further north. These mounds are almost identical to the Teotihuacans. The stone pyramids of Mexico and were built mainly in the states bordering the Gulf of Mexico and the Mississippi River and its tributaries. This suggests a link between the various African colonies which appeared in Mexico during the past 3 millennia and the mound builders of the United States. It stands to reason that if the mound building tradition had begun in the north and spread southward, as many anthropologists maintain, the mounds in the north will be more elaborate than those found in the south. The archaeological evidence indicates that this was not the case. In the north, mounds tended to be low and were often made in the form of gigantic effigies of birds, reptiles, beasts, and men, while in the Midwest parts of the United States the mounds were conical and geometrical. In the South, on the other hand, the mounds were made in the same form as the Mexican-style truncated pyramids, except that they were built on earth, of the earth. Other earthen pyramids have been found in Mexico. This type of pyramid is found in the middle preclassic pyramids found on many Maya lowland sites. The clay figurines from the southern highlands dating back to this period are of African blacks. These earthen pyramids and some of the jaguar-faced pyramids made during the preclassic Maya period were built by the Olmecs. The mounds in the United States may have been built by Africans for defense purposes while they tried to coexist with the Amerindian population that lived nearby, who obviously came much later. This hypothesis is supported by the fact that the Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri mound sites are located on hilltops overlooking valleys and are clearly defense works covering many acres with formidable walls of earth, sometimes reinforced by stone, all evidently chosen for their impregnability. In lowland areas where there were probably few inhabitants or unsettled land, the mounds of various geometric enclosures, octagons, circles, squares, elliptics. These mounds were more than likely built without military intention. The defensive style mounds found in the United States had lines of embankments which averaged between 5 to 30 feet high, with enclosures hundreds of acres wide. Leading out form many of these enclosures that often were parallel walls many miles long, forming great avenues. Weiner felt that these mounds resembled the African cities of Loenga in the Congo and the ancient city of Benin. W.B. Du Bois noted the mounds of the mound builders were probably replicas of Negro forts in Africa. That this tendency to build forts and stockades proceeded from the Antilles, whence the Arawaks had come in the beginning of the 16th century, is proved by the presence of similar works in Cuba. These are found in most abandoned and least explored part of the island, and there can be little doubt that they were locations of fugitive Negro Indian stockades. Indians were Negroes, precisely such as were in use in Africa. The only occupied mounds seen by Europeans were those built by the African slaves, the Arawak Indians, and the people of Florida. This is the trick the white folks do. But Hernando de Soto, the only European to see occupied mounds, tell us much about their construction and use. De Soto and his men discussed the mounds they found amongst the Florida Indians. Here, as mentioned earlier, lived some African/black people. De Soto noted that at Ucita, Florida, the town was of 7 or 8 houses built of timber and covered with palm leaves. The chief's house stood near the bench upon a very high mound made by hand for defense. At the other end of the town was a temple. It is interesting to note that in Florida, one of the major ethnic groups living there was the Yamasi or Jamasi, people who were described as blacks. This may mean that descendants of the mound builders are the Yamasi. The mounds in the United States are usually found near rivers. In the Ohio Valley, 10,000 mounds have been discovered. In the north, the mound zone begin in western New York and extend along the southern shores of Lake Erie into what is now Michigan, Wisconsin, and on the states of Iowa and Nebraska. In southern United States, the mounds line the Gulf of Mexico from Florida to eastern Texas and extend up through the Carolinas and across the state of Oklahoma. The mounds of ancient America follow the lines of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers and outlying regions as well. They vary in size from colossal mounds in Illinois to mere blisters rising from the earth. Most, if not all, the mounds have long been abandoned by their former inhabitants when they were discovered. Many excavated mounds have yielded human bones, weapons, tools, inscriptions, and jewelry. Statues of Africans have been found in those mounds. As discussed earlier, there were 2 types of scarification in this mound. The effigy bowl, Mississippi. You can obviously tell that was a Negro. All right. African statues found in ancient mounds excavated in western Sudan. Africoid statues of type 1, humanoids in a sitting position with their hands in the thigh and right knee pointed up while the other knee is resting on the ground, are found in Tennessee and in Indiana at the Angle site. And I showed you this picture before. You see image of ancient Egypt. You see that here. Same thing. One knee is down to the ground, other was kind of standing up, and then the hand is on there, and he bent down. And he has a sort of a mohawk haircut, look like. So I showed that picture before. The most common type style 2 statues, i.e. the statues of humanoids in a sitting position with the hands placed across the chest, have been found at the Etowah and Temple Mound sites in Tennessee and Georgia. It is also interesting that anthropomorphic statues found in Polk County, Georgia, are analogous to statues found in Mauritania. One of the major mound sites inhabited in North America was that of the Adena culture in Ohio. The Adena culture existed from 200 BC to AD 400-500. Black Africans are characterized as being broad-faced, full-lipped, illustrating pragmaticism, large bone with fleshy noses. Samuel Morton in Crana Americana, written in 1839, noted that the Dina people possess ponderous bony structure, large jaws, and broad face. This description of the Dina fits exactly the description of the West African. Okay, the Dina, or Hopewell culture, as we call it today, was a dominant force in the United States during this period. They have left numerous copper bracelets, rings, stone tablets, and effigy pipes made in the form of Africans. At the Great Serpent Mound in Adams County, Ohio, a copper breastplate has been found by Professor F.W. Putnam. Also mentioned the discovery of an Egyptian-looking figure in these mounds. Among the hundreds of pipes discovered in the mounds, we see many African totems impressed on the pipes, including serpents and birds. There is even one pipe from Ohio found in a mound that is an unmistakable representation of toucan. The toucan bird is found in Brazil. This supports the view that some mound builders have lived formerly in Brazil. I always mention there was always constant movement because they used the boat to sail back and forth. And you also got to understand when I'm reading this about the pipes. You see a lot of those images of those little dwarf black people having a pipe in their mouth. And you see some of your grandmothers may have the pipe, or your grandfather had the pipe back in the day. You know, they were just carrying the tradition that the ancient Aboriginal black ancestors, what they had in the Americas. All right. Most of the Malenian influence among the mound builders correspond to artifacts recovered from the Southern Death Coast. The pipes recovered from many mounds in the United States, and the name for tobacco suggests that it was the Manding who introduced tobacco to the New World. All right. The Manding may have also constructed temple mounds. These mounds were built between AD 700 and 1700. The temple mounds were built in central Mississippi Valley, Arkansas, southern Missouri, southern Illinois, and western Tennessee. Most of the inhabitants of the temple mounds probably came from eastern Yucatan. They were probably remnants of the foreign people moving north through Mexico, recorded in the Amerindian tradition. This is proven by the discovery of many figurines and statues of blacks in temple mounds. The sculptural evidence found in the mounds all indicating African origin and proven by Weiner. A long pipe with a crouching figure on the bowl on exhibit in New York Historical Society is an African with compound bracelets, 5 on the wrist, 6 on the upper arm, 4 on the calf, such as only found in Mexico and West Africa. These bracelets are found in gorgets from the Etowah Mound, which show Malenian influence. Other sculptured heads and figurines of Africans have been found on the banks of Point Creek near Chillicothe, Ohio, Tennessee, Mississippi, and on the Green Flats in Virginia, which wear African headdresses, skull caps, and facial stratifications identical with those on the Manding. We also find a depiction of Africans in carvings from Spiro, Oklahoma. At Spiro Mound, African faces were carved in shells, and the Manding cross sign placed on the palms of the hands of artifacts. This cross in the Manding script meant righteous purity. Other inscribed works of art from the Moundville site in central Alabama also show Manding signs, especially the Manding cross. A figure found in the cemetery at Nashville, Tennessee was an African woman, while another African statue was found at Clarksville, Tennessee in 1897. These statues, as well as heads on the gorgets from the Missouri mounds, show analogous stratifications, stratations found on the faces of the Manding clansmen. Among the Southern Death Coast mound builders, we find a third type of statue, which has the leg and the knee at the base, with the arms placed across the chest, with the hands resting above the breast. Another type statue is seen in the effigy jar, with weeping eye motif. It has its base, the feet, and the buttocks. The knees are pointed up in the air, and the arms are placed across the chest, with the hands placed above the opposite breast. All right. The major reason for the very arch styles among the mounds that were built by the Millennials result from the fact that Mali was composed of many different ethnic groups that spoke different languages and practiced various cultures. As a result of this ethnic pluralism, we find homogeneous people who inhabited many mounds in the United States that practiced multiplicity of cultural forms. Statues of Africans have also been found in these mounds. As discussed earlier, there were two types of African statues found in ancient mounds excavated in Western Sudan. African statues of type 1, humanoids in sitting position with their hands on the thigh and right knee pointed up, while the other knee is resting on the ground, are found in Tennessee and Indiana at the Angel site. The most common type of statue two statues of humanoids in sitting position with their hands placed across the chest, have also been found at Etowah and Temple Mound sites in Tennessee and Georgia. It is also interesting that anthropomorphic statues found in Polk County, Georgia, is analogous to statues found in Mauritania. One of the major mound sites inhabited in North America was that of the Adena culture in Ohio. The Adena culture existed from 200 BC to AD 400. Black Africans characterized as being broad-faced, full-lipped, illustrating pragmatism. All right, and I'm not going to read the rest of that part right there, but I'm just going to sit there and say my point is that these mounds were all over the United States, different building structures all over the United States. And like I just read by Dr. Winters, is that they built these mounds by large riverbeds of water. Yeah, I don't use the term Africa everything. I don't use that, but the point is that I'm getting at, and I want you to understand, brothers and sisters, is that the fact is that this information is out there. Right now it's believed to be 200,000, maybe possibly 200,000 miles that still exist. Many have been destroyed, many of them have not been found. I want to say this. When you watch baseball, the game is very strategic, and each position is very important. But the most important position in baseball, like in football, is the quarterback. The most important position in baseball is the pitcher. The pitcher on the mound, okay? The pitcher on the pitching mound. And the pitching mound used to be much higher than what it is today. And they lowered it, and I want to say due to the greatest pitcher of all time, Bob Gibson, out of Omaha, Nebraska, black guy with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was very intimidating. So I believe, if I'm correct, they lowered the pitching mound because of him. Because they thought that he was given a very unfair advantage the way he was doing. He was really destroying batters. Yeah, so the pitching mound used to be higher. So when you look at baseball, the idea of the pitching mound was heavily influenced by mounds, not only burial mounds, but the large mounds that we have here in America. Because the pitcher, the main person who's throwing the ball, is pitching on the mound. And the mound, the pitcher's in basically the center, the main person, coming from pitching on the mound. And the mound culture was very prevalent here in America and throughout the world, because those structures are built around the world, as well as pyramids and other type of geometric type of structures that was built around the world. They just wanted to build in one location. They had this concept and this idea, and they went around the world with it. So we have to understand that our ancestors had the technology when they traveled the world. We weren't just stuck in Africa on the plantation. All right, or being shipped to a plantation. That stuff isn't accurate, because most of us was already here. I want brothers and sisters to look into the Moshe. And I talked about them before, from Peru. The Moshe, when you look at them, they're unquestionably black. Those are unquestionably Negroes, man. The Moshe was unquestionably Negroes. When you look at them, those are some straight up Negroes, man. And that'll let you know who's the original people here. And some of them have these little vases where they have like lotus flowers on them. Lotus flower on top of their heads and stuff like that, where they'll have a statue of them with lotus flowers on the statue. It was a part of the statue. All right? And those images are unquestionably Negro. And many of these tribes, many of those groups that were here, And a lot of these names are not the original names, but many of the groups that are here, some of them were more peaceful, while some of them were more violent. Right? I'm not gonna be sending you a fairy tale story saying every single black person was a good person. That's not true. All right? I'll be lying to you. In Europe, here in the Americas, and over in Asia, we had demons and devils who were so-called black, and we had people who weren't demons and devils. So we gotta look at our history. Some things you're not gonna like, all right? But we are the original people of this planet. And any Negro who continue to tell you that you're a descendant of African slaves is a person who really haven't done their research. They just straight up ignorant. And it's too much information out here to get that type of nonsense. But unfortunately, you still have Negroes giving that type of information. You have one Negro with a main channel. All he does is talk about Africa. And then he made an attack talking about people want to talk about this person black in Europe and that. Why we going to do that? Why we going to be shamed? We should be proud of our heritage come from West Africa. That's a goddamn lie. And that tells you how much of an idiot he is. But unfortunately, many people listen to that. Because a lot of us have in our blood black Europeans. A lot of us do. All right? A lot of us had that in our blood mixed in with the Aboriginal blacks here. We have that in us, man. So I want to say that I don't want to get long-winded. This seem like it's a little bit long-winded, but it's something that needs to be said. And this is from Dr. Clyde Waters' book I read, The Black Mound Builders of America. It's a small little book, but it's a good little book. It's a little wide, but it's a smaller book. It's a good book, but it talks about stuff that I talked about in the past, but it just continues to build on this information. I'm trying to give you as much information that you can research. You can find this for yourself. Because the information's there. We are the Aboriginal black people here. This is our land. We're not descendants, excuse me, my voice getting a little hoarse, of African slaves. We are descendants of the Aboriginal blacks who built that. Negroes who get offended by it, tell them go to hell. Tell Umar Johnson set his dumb ass down, as well as Sarah Sutasetti or Sarah Garvey over in Europe. That guy's an idiot because he's going to talk down to the people here, but he shows you how ignorant he is of our history. It shows how ignorant and lazy he is as an historian. But this is why it's very important for us to study our history. Right? I told you I had some Jack Daniels type of clown come on my damn page trying to tell me them black Europeans are nothing but some damn Africans. I said, get your ass off my page. Because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. But see, by just labeling people African, like I said before, you basically now making them foreigners in land that they're truly indigenous to. Because you try to make every single person with melanin skin just an African, while they're aboriginal to this planet. But you just want to make them into just West Africa. And that's the thing, these things that these fools are doing. That's the thing that these fools are running by. Like they tell you recently, they try to claim on 60 Minutes that blues music was created by slaves that came from West Africa, went to Morocco, and they came into America. That's nonsense, man. Because first of all, the original people of Morocco and all of so-called North Africa were Negro in the first place. See, you hear stuff like this, man. That's why white folks shouldn't be writing our history. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. White folks should be writing our history, and some of these boule Negroes shouldn't be writing. Any Negro who takes pride in being a boule is a coon. They shouldn't be writing our history either. Because our history has been totally distorted. Most of our people were already here. I know it's hard for some of you Negroes to fathom, to comprehend, to understand. But most of our people were already here. Most of us were not brought over in slave ships. We were already here. So I really wish you understand it and do your research, because the information is there. If you want to seek it and study it, if you want to grasp it and comprehend it, but the information is there. Just like the original people of the Roman Empire were Negroes. Just like Constantine, the so-called great, he wasn't all that great, but he was a Negro. And so to Byzantium. A lot of these names are given by these white folks, but all those were Negroes, ruled by Negroes. They were Negroes, black people, melanated people, darkest. But you're not going to be told this by white scholars. I said before, the images of the Council of Nicaea, the original image you see of Negroes, but they give you these fake images that look so fake you can tell they new. It's like those fake Roman marble statues. That stuff is fake. That's fake as hell. They give you fake white images. I told you Hadrian's Wall was built by Negroes. It was an article I found where they said that the bones that they found were a bunch of Ethiopians. So, okay, hey man, that's another term that they use for black. I'm telling you, man, your history's there, but you gonna have to get it. And these Negroes who keep telling you that you're an African slave, man, look at their ass and wave bye-bye, because they're ignorant. Gates is a sellout. He's on his second white wife. You don't listen to people like that.